Some filling in his absence, and we've got a lot to discuss today. A big day yesterday in Major League Baseball as the wild card round started, and we had four extremely entertaining games to start day one. We'll see what today has in store. Basically same schedule as we had yesterday, where first game will start about 1:30 between the Tigers and the Astros. Then we'll have about a 3:30 start between the Royals and the Orioles, a 6:30 start between the Mets and the Brewers, and then a 7:30 start between the Braves and the Padres. So things shifted a little bit. That Royals O's game yesterday started at 3 o'clock. Mets Brewers started about 4:30. So we're shifting the last or the middle two games just a little bit for TV purposes, and then that final game staying at 7:30. And we'll see what happens with those, because yesterday was really, really fun to watch. Started off, Tigers with a 3-1 win over the Astros. Royals get a 1-0 win over the O's. The Mets, an 8-4 win over the Brew Crew. And then the Padres blank the Braves with a 4-0 victory. So when you look at that, 3 underdogs, 3 away teams pulling out upsets in game ones. And so that means now in a best-of-3 series,
win or go home.
Win or go home for these favorites. And so today is going to be extremely fascinating. You know, I think I talked about it yesterday. The pitching matchup you were going to get between Trick Skubal and Framber Valdez in that first game was going to be great. And it was. I mean, that first inning, just to see those two pitchers go back and forth. I mean, I would love to see, and I could find it. I'm not going to try to look for it right now because it would take me a couple minutes, and I'm not going to do that. I'd love to see the amount of pitches thrown in that first inning, because I don't think either got a strikeout in the first inning. It was a lot of ground balls, flyouts. I think Trick Skubal got his first out on 1 or 2 pitches. I mean, it was a first pitch pop fly or a second pitch pop fly. So both those guys were dealing, but then the Tigers able to get a couple singles in third or fourth inning and take that 3-0 lead. And I say singles, and I think you think, oh, little
bloopers or droopers here or there.
No, these were hard hit, diving balls in shallow outfield that they were really making a lot of plays of. Hits right back up the middle, some really good stuff. There was a scare at one point. Trick Skubal. He throws a pitch, it's hit right back at him, and it hits him kind of right there where your hand starts. Kind of, they said it was more towards the thumb, kind of where that meat is on your hand, where your thumb, but it was his glove hand. And so when he went to try to field the ball, his glove got a little loose, and it just kind of hit him right there on his palm. And so they checked him out, and I was thinking, oh man, you do not need Trick Skubal going out. But he stayed and looked really, really good through 6 innings, had 6 strikeouts, 4 hits given up, 0 runs allowed. And I think a lot of people were talking about this, and I think you saw it reflected in the gambling markets, where I don't know what the money line was at first pitch. I know the Tigers were underdogs, but I was keeping an eye on first 5 money line, which I was a little nervous about, just because I felt like everybody's going to pound that. You've got Trick Skubal on the mound, everyone's going to pound that. And the night before, so I guess, what's today, Wednesday? Monday night when I was looking at it, it was like Tigers plus 120, plus 115, first 5 money line. And right before the game went off yesterday, it was minus 105. So it moved so much in favor of Detroit first 5 money lines, because you have that guy throwing. You have Trick Skubal throwing. And he was awesome. He was really, really good, and I think reflected why he will be the Cy Young. If anybody, I know different show.
If anyone doubted it.
If anyone doubted it, different show, but we were talking to Rob Fisher the other day on Sports Time, and he said, if anybody needs a reminder on who Ja Morant is, go Google him. Go watch some YouTube videos. He's back. He's coming. I think that was the same with Trick Skubal on yesterday.
So here's what I took away from it. When the injury sort of happened, he spoke to the world. He spoke to the television. When the catcher threw the pitch back to him, the way he grabbed it and the way he just kind of, I'm good. I'm good. I mean, I think he was speaking to the dugout. He was speaking to the fans. I ain't coming out.
Yeah.
That's what it was
Which
to me.
was
And I was like, he was heroic.
Yeah.
Like,
And so yesterday, I mean, it was a reminder. I mean, anybody that's doubting maybe it's a competition for Cy Young, no. He's here, and he's an unbelievable pitcher. So I thought a fun game. Astros made it a little scary in the ninth inning. They score one run. They ended up having bases loaded, and Jason Hayward up to the plate, and he hit a really hard hit ball just right to the first baseman.
When you do the Cardinals wrong in your past, nothing ever comes good.
That's
to
right.
you. But he did win a World Series with Dodgers.
Yes,
so,
he did. But that was fun seeing the Tigers last night. Really fun game between the Royals and the Orioles. You talk about a good pitching matchup. Cole Reagan's young pitcher for Kansas City looked really, really good. You know, this guy, 26 years old, came over to KC and has been really, really good for them after, being with the Rangers, was traded last year to Kansas City and has looked really, really good this year. It's kind of turning into, you can see that future. Cole Reagan's going to be an ace for somebody, and I think he showed that in a big-time spot yesterday. For maybe people that weren't familiar with Cole Reagan's and what he can do on the mound, looked really, really good against the Orioles in a really low-scoring game. They were able to tack on one run in the sixth inning. That was the only run scored. Kind of same thing. Orioles had some life in the bottom of the ninth inning, just couldn't get anything to go. I think a double play ended the game.
Your man DeWitt with the only RBI.
Yeah.
You've been on him.
He's a really good player, and I think, kind of stuck in that Kansas City, doesn't get a lot of shine. We were talking about it yesterday where, I think Kansas City, especially if they can do something here, let's say they go out and beat the Orioles again today. Now, they're in the next round. Maybe they don't win that next series, but, make some noise. I think this Kansas City team is going to be a team next year that has a ton of eyes on it, a ton of national media talking about it, and a lot of it's going to be because of Bobby Witt Jr. and what he does on a baseball field. Now, I still don't know what happened in the Mets-Brewers game. I'm still lost because I was watching it up here, and the Brewers scored 2 runs in the first inning, looked really good. Second inning, Jesse Winker hits a triple that scored 2 runs to tie it up. He was talking the entire time he was running. I mean, I've never seen anything like that. I've seen guys hit home runs, and while they're like jogging, they're jawing with the other team. Jesse Winker is full sprinting towards second base. He hit a triple, so that means he has to sprint to second, then round second, and go to third. And while he's sprinting, he is yelling at Freddie Peralta and Willie Adames, and they're like looking at him like, dude, what is your problem?
What's going on?
And he gets to third, and it's still, he's taking his lead off third, and they've just got a camera on him, and he is just screaming at Freddie Peralta. And, then they went, this goes back a while, earlier in the season, there was a bench clearing, and, this series all year has kind of been a little warm, and I don't think either side really likes each other too much, and so, but that makes for great playoff baseball.
Yeah, no love lost between those.
Exactly, and so and this is a team that's seen each other a lot. They just saw each other last weekend, in the last weekend of the regular season. But I was watching this game, and the Mets are up. Then right before I leave here, Brewers tack on 2 more runs. They regain the lead. I'm like, okay, Brewers got this. And then I leave here, Darian.
5.
And I go to Huey's to meet my brother and one of his friends to grab dinner. I get to Huey's. From here to Huey's, maybe a 15-minute drive. Maybe.
If that.
I get there. I sit down. I look up at the television, and it's 8-4. I'm like, what happened? How did they get all these runs? And so, 5 spot for the Mets. That's kind of what the Mets are. That is the team that the Mets are. They are a team. We've seen it. We saw it. If you haven't watched the Mets, but you were tuned in kind of in this race, you saw it last weekend in their one win against the Brewers. You saw it Monday in that win they had against the Braves where they were down, 3-0, and then one inning, the 8th inning, they click and score 6 runs. This is a team that at any point can get something going and score runs in bunches, and we saw that last night. So now, Astros, Orioles, Brewers, all heavy favorites in this wild card series. Now backs against the wall for Game 2 today. The only favorite that won, the only home team that won last night, were the Padres. A 4-0 win. They look really good.
They look good.
How about this nugget? Fernando Tatis Jr., the only home run hit yesterday on the first day of wild card. He had a 2-run shot to get the scoring started for the Padres. They look good. And here's the thing for the Braves. I like the Braves. I give them so much credit for what they did in the regular season. I mean, when you have – I had a stat yesterday afternoon on Sports Time where the Braves became the first team in Major League Baseball history to have 3 starters on opening day go down with season-ending injuries, and I think the nugget was like miss 35 or more games in a season and still make the playoffs. And, you know, I think that 35 or more games is very, very vague and very wide open. It's not saying you had your ace pitcher go down during the first month of the season.
It's not a telltale sign of when they went down.
Exactly. It's okay. You know, what is 35 games? You know, I mean, you missed the last month and a half of the season. I mean, what does that really mean? For the Braves, you had your ace pitcher, which I'm not a big Spencer Strider guy. Like, I've been very open about that. It has nothing to do. He's a great pitcher. Just not a huge fan of him. But he's a great pitcher. And you lost him first month of the season. You lost Acuna the second month of the season. He gets injured in May and is out for the season. Then Austin Riley, about a month or so ago, I guess it was August when he went down with the season-ending injury. So, you know, and those are 3 guys you are really, really relying on. The same way we talk about Trick Skubal, same way we talk about Chris Sale, where it feels like every time they're out there on the mound, you got a great chance to win that game. And think about it even more. The great season Chris Sale has had, the great season Ronaldo Lopez has had for Atlanta. Now, you could say maybe Ronaldo Lopez isn't a starter if Spencer Strider is still healthy. But think about that 1-2-3 you could have had. Certainly 1-2 with Spencer Strider and Chris Sale. Chris Sale's in the conversation for Cy Young. You would have had 2 Cy Young guys in your starting pitching rotation. And certainly if you had made the move for Ronaldo Lopez, he's looked really, really good this season. You know, your pitching rotation from a starter's standpoint would have been fantastic.
Would have been solidified big time.
It would have been awesome. What Acuna brings to a lineup, I mean, there's not even words to describe how massive he is for a team. And then Austin Riley, we know what he can do as a power hitter, and certainly a lot of people follow his career being with the local ties down in Olive Branch. So, you know, those were 3 massive injuries, and for them to keep fighting, John and I would always talk about, Brett and I would always talk about during the regular season of, you know, who's going to make the wild card. And I was very consistent most of the season saying, I think the Braves are going to make it. And I even questioned myself when I said, like, you know, I like the idea. I think the Braves can do it just because of the pieces they have, but it sounds crazy. And sure enough, they're able to go out there and do it. And I just think that speaks volumes of that organization as a whole and kind of what they are from top to bottom. But with all of that being said,
I think they're done.
Right now, they do not have the pitching. I
think they're done. Like you were talking about Tatis, the way I wanted to kind of see it, Tatis started it off and Michael King closed the deal.
He sure did. He was awesome.
But there was
strikeouts?
And there was a stat yesterday. I think he was the first starting pitcher in postseason to strike out 10. He was the 5th, not the first. He was the 5th starting pitcher in the postseason to strike out 10, no walks, no runs.
Wow.
I mean,
That's incredible.
And back to your Mets and Braves point, there was a lot of historical numbers yesterday.
Yeah.
They were the first 2 teams, obviously, because the teams included them, to play double headers on one day and the following day play a postseason game.
That's
so
insane.
those 2 got enshrined with that on yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And so now, you know, for the Braves, Max Fried going to go today. You know, he's a fine pitcher. You need runs, and, you know, who do you get those runs out of in this lineup is the question. And so, you know, we'll see. I think going to be another fun day of baseball to see what happens, because it really, really comes down to today. What do we see tomorrow? How many games are played tomorrow will be a big time question. But I think really, really excited for these games today, and like I mentioned, it all starts at 1:00 with a fascinating pitching matchup. I love pitching matchups, and especially in postseason baseball, because pitching matters so much, and you see a lot of low-scoring games. For the Tigers and the Astros. Tyler Holton starting for Detroit today. He's 28 years old. He's a guy that came out of the bullpen a ton this season. Only made 9 starts on the season. And he's going to start today. How long is his longest outing? That's my big question.
From this season?
From this season. It is 3 innings is what I am seeing. Let's see, anything longer than 3 innings?
Probably fair to say this will be a bullpen game for them.
And that's what kind of scares me today for Detroit. Because I think if you're Detroit, win today. Don't even worry about a game 3. That's for any of the underdogs. If you've got your foot on the gas right now and you have that lead, you don't want to force a game 3 on the road in that type of environment. Tyler Holton's been good when he's been on the mound today or this year. But like I said, it's been in limited outings. It has not been a lot of innings. It has been those bullpen starts. It's been out of the bullpen. But he's going up against Hunter Brown, who I am not a big Hunter Brown fan. There are some games he goes out there and he looks really good. There are other games he goes out there and he does not look good at all. And so it's what kind of Hunter Brown do you get? He's appeared in 7 postseason games in his career. This will be his first postseason start. He's looked good out of the bullpen in the playoffs, but what does he look like as a starter?
Do you have his postseason ERA in front of him?
1.69.
Okay, so he actually got better because in the regular season he's at 3.49.
Sure,
So, yeah, okay.
But again, he's been a full-time starter this year for the Astros. All of those stats, career playoff, have been out of the bullpen.
Out of the pen, okay.
So he's coming in, giving you an inning, 2 innings, something like that, not necessarily starting. And actually, I did not know this about him. He is from Detroit. So for him, he will be, I'm sure, grew up a Detroit Tigers fan. And so he will be making his first postseason start against his hometown team, which that will be pretty cool to see. But, you look over the last 7 games, he's been really good. A 2.11 ERA over his last 7 starts, which I would say really, really, really good. So we'll just see. What does he look like today? But I think an interesting pitching matchup against 2 guys that are very inexperienced when it comes to postseason starts. And, I think that makes for a fascinating matchup.
The inexperience, I think, lends to your point of get her done now.
Mm-hmm.
Houston has a championship fabric there.
Yep.
It will actually befuddle me if you don't see a championship environment if it goes to game 3.
Sure.
I think they'll see it today. Towels waving,
Oh, yeah.
crowd not sitting down, the whole 9. But if they can pull it out, I definitely think that the Tigers don't want to go to a game 3. They don't. No. Detroit needs to end this time.
Yeah, I think you get it done today, and then you don't have to worry about tomorrow. They have not announced a pitcher for tomorrow. Not many teams have. There's been 3 pitchers announced for tomorrow if we need them in Game 3. Houston has announced a starting pitcher, Kikuchi, is going to go for them if they win today and have to play a game tomorrow. But no, I'm excited. I've really enjoyed the postseason baseball. Already, we've only had 1 day of it. I feel like we've had 2 days of it because that Mets Braves doubleheader was 100%.
And the games have been short too. Like even yesterday, the late game that I got home for, I think it ended a little after 10.
Yeah,
I mean it wasn't late at all.
Let's look. Let's see what those times were because you're absolutely right. They were
moving along,
and a lot of that is the pitching. I mean, you look at these final scores: 4-0, 1-0, 3-1. That's going to result in quick games because you're just, you're not getting a lot of base runners, you're not getting a lot of hits. That game last night, 209. How about that? Yeah. That's a fast game. 2 hours and 9 minutes. And I think, ultimately, we had this discussion yesterday about, what would draw more fans? Does a World Series of Yankees-Dodgers draw a larger viewing audience from maybe more just casual sports fans that aren't going to be locked in to Major League Baseball? I'll tell you this: I love a good long Major League Baseball game, but a 2-hour game, you can have people locked into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I think the problem is I think there's always that argument of, especially casual fans, they don't want to see a pitching duel.
Yeah, they don't want to.
They want to see.
They don't want one at nothing.
They want to see base runners. They want to see home runs. They want to see scoring. And that's kind of what Major League Baseball told us a couple years ago with all the rule changes and the juiced balls and all this is, fans want to see home runs. Fans want to see scoring. Fans don't want to see, 3 up, 3 down every single inning. I don't mind it. I like it. I like a pitching duel.
Because that means someone's dealing.
Exactly.
That means someone's out there getting the job done.
Exactly. So the other games yesterday, I think I have them all pulled up. Detroit and Houston was a long one, 3-hour game. That, I believe, would be the longest game of the day. Then you have Orioles and Royals, 2:25, so another relatively short game. And then the Brewers and Mets was 2:43. So
even with 12 runs, okay.
Yeah, how about that? Which I was kind of surprised because I figured that would be
that
the
would have been the
game.
longest, yeah.
But no, Detroit and Houston, the longest game of the day yesterday. But you're right, that game last night was a quick one. If you if you're late to that one, if you're late to get into the television, I don't know if you really got much bang for your buck there.
And the excitement really came in the first inning between Tatis and then from a pitching standpoint, King not playing. 3 up, 3 down. It's like, come on, let's get it. Let's get it.
No, he was awesome. Well, a lot of baseball talk there. Definitely excited for these 4 games today. Let's go to a break. When we come back, a lot of other things to get to. There's been some reports this morning and yesterday about Memphis in the Pac-12. I know I don't really want to get into this hope and long for and all of that again, but I do want to talk about it because I do think it's relevant. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll talk some football. We had a pretty prominent receiver request a trade yesterday in the NFL, so we'll talk a lot of football next on Wolo and Friends.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
When you think about insurance and you want great value without sacrificing great service, I want you to think one place: the Eflin Insurance and the entire Eflin Insurance team. Matt and his group of professionals will access 10 leading companies to find the right home and auto program that fits your budget and your absolute needs. The Eflin Insurance team, the number 386-GER, 386-4777. Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa setting. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa sale might go on forever. Family Leisure. Witten Road at I-40. Family and fun come together.
You know, sometimes I wish I had a gun.
Well, I'm armed, but before I bought one, I still went to Top Gun Academy to learn to protect myself without a gun.
How is that possible?
Top Gun's personal protection training. It's perfect if you want to protect yourself without firearms.
I don't know.
And it's perfect if you feel the need to carry a gun for self-defense, because the last thing you really want to do is shoot.
That is scary.
Not at Top Gun. It's very comfortable, and you learn to load, handle, and shoot a handgun safely. Protect yourself. Go to Top Gun Academy. They're at 2770 Witten Road.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
It's football season and nothing goes better with Game Time Eats than chicken wings. It's a tradition like no other, but not just any wings, it's the seasoning that makes the chicken wing. And nobody does it better than the Crazy Coop at 7199 Stage Road west of Abilene and soon coming to downtown Memphis. Over 32 mouth-watering secret sauces and counting, like the jalapeno cheddar and the barbecue bacon bourbon. And don't bother asking them for the secret recipes. No matter how large your tailgating is or the family at home, kick off your game day with Crazy Coop party packs plus special bulk prices. Visit crazycoopstage.com to customize your wings and sauces. Whole wings, boneless wings. Try the Crazy Hot Suicide if you dare. Add Parmesan fries and fried dill pickles. And don't forget the carrots and celery sticks. For the full menu, which includes juicy burgers, catfish fillets, chicken nuggies, and crazy kid meals, go to crazycoopstage.com. That's crazycoopstage.com. You'd be crazy not to visit the Coop.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshyn.
Welcome back into Wolo and Friends. Bryant Dacus and Darian Newsom with you on this Wednesday morning. Dave out, but he'll be back on Monday. We talked a lot of baseball in the first segment. Big day 2 of the wild card, and we'll see a couple of teams, I'm sure, seasons come to an end today. But I do feel good that we could get a lot of baseball tomorrow because so many underdogs won yesterday. Yeah. And so you would think that those better teams
it would bode well for the home team.
You would think that they would be able to come out and get a win today. So hopefully that means a lot of baseball tomorrow if some of those favorites could pull it out. But I did want to talk about this. Yesterday we talked about, or maybe it was either yesterday or 2 days ago when Gonzaga, I guess it was yesterday, Gonzaga officially announced that they were going to join the Pac-12 and move from the WCC, which is certainly big news for them, big news for the Pac-12 because of what they said. We had heard originally that Gonzaga would get full revenue share from the conference for a program that does not have football. To get full revenue share from the conference would be huge. It would be unheard of. But certainly when you talk about a program like Gonzaga, I think it's warranted. But now we've learned that it's probably not going to be 100%, but it could be close to 100%. We heard that they could get a good amount from revenue share, but then also they will get that the Big 12 has said any team that makes the NCAA tournament in basketball, obviously they get a percentage of money. Units is what they call them for the NCAA tournament. The conference gets those units for teams that make the NCAA tournament from their conference, and usually conferences split that evenly among conference mates. Well, what the Big 12 has said is that 50% of that unit that the conference gets in return for a team making, so let's say Gonzaga goes to the NCAA tournament, they would get 50% of that unit, and then the other 50% would be dispersed between the rest of the conference. And so, that's definitely big for them and certainly makes the Pac-12 a really serious college basketball conference. Yes. So Brandon Marcello yesterday tweeted out after all of this happened with Gonzaga. Pac-12 now looking for football members, of course, because obviously, and we've talked about this, you have to have 8 football playing schools in your conference to remain at the FBS level in college football. Obviously, with college basketball, there is no FBS, FCS, it's just Division I. So they have 7. They need 1 more. So Brandon Marcello says, Pac-12 now looking for football members. Of course, Memphis is, in all capital letters, not back in the picture, an industry source tells CBS Sports and 247 Sports. News always evolving in conference realignment. So it definitely looks like, Pac-12 looking for 1 more school. But according to Brandon Marcello, it is not going to be the University of Memphis, that those conversations are not being held. Well, this morning, Hitman Hoops, who his identity is unknown.
Still unknown.
But he breaks a lot of news when it comes to Memphis athletics. He tweeted this morning that I know the morning show has had him on their show before to talk about some of the things he has reported. He tweeted this out earlier this morning. Memphis and the Pac-12 remain in ongoing discussions, multiple sources confirmed. Discussions have started to, quote, ramp up again over the last few days, with the Pac-12 proposing creative solutions to ease Memphis's financial concerns. A report yesterday claimed Memphis was, quote, not in the picture, end of quote, but I'm told that is not entirely accurate. So,
and that's for all sports or just football?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know, because we kind of heard those reports of that, Memphis was in It's been very weird how all of this has played out, because you had Memphis obviously in conversations with Pac-12. Then you started to hear, well, maybe Memphis goes and joins the Pac-12 in football only. And then you would have the rest of your sports stay in the American. Now, my concern and my question to that all the time is, well, why would the American allow the rest of the sports to stay in the American? I could see, and also, why would you want to stay in basketball? If you're leaving for football, you should also want to leave in basketball, because especially now that Gonzaga's there, it's such a good basketball conference. I mentioned this yesterday. Our friend Kevin Sweeney, who joins us during the basketball season, he put out a tweet and said something like, including Gonzaga, the teams that are joining the Pac-12, and this also includes Washington State because they made the tournament last year, like 6 teams that would be in this new Pac-12 made the NCAA tournament last year. The last time the Pac-12 had 5 or more teams make the NCAA tournament from their conference was 2015, I think. Now, obviously, things can change. Like, I don't think you would necessarily get that many schools in the tournament because you're all playing each other. There's that kind of, cannibalization amongst your own and different things. So I think it would be tough to get that many. But the point is, it's a lot of really good basketball schools joining this conference. We know, some of the football schools that are going to be in that conference. And so I don't think you would go football only and leave basketball here. At the same time, why would the American allow you to do that? If I'm the American, and I don't know, again, I'm no lawyer, I'm no commissioner, I'm no anything. But to me, at least, if you're telling me, hey, your conference ain't good enough for us in football and basketball, we're leaving to go to the Pac-12. But hey, we're still going to stay for baseball, soccer, tennis, all of our other sports. We're going to stay here in the American. If I'm Tim Pernetti, the commissioner of the American, I'm saying absolutely not. You're either all in or you're all out.
So my question to you is that not a separate buyout? Is that the Americans' call? Because is there a number where the football team can just
That's
leave?
a great question.
Because that's what okay, you think it's all or nothing?
I would say so. If it was me making the decisions, it would be.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think the argument can be, well, Navy's only in the conference in football, Army's only in the conference in football. They play in the Patriot conference for all those other sports. Well, at the same time, Patriot doesn't play FBS football. You know, that's a conference for, you know, basketball, baseball, all those other sports. So it's a tricky situation. Maybe you can come up. I know Tim Pernetti's a very forward-thinking commissioner, it seems. And certainly what we've learned now with Memphis saying that they're going to stay in the conference with the idea of you know, increased revenue sharing, you know, different things. Private equity has been thrown out there. So, you know, I do think he's a forward-thinking commissioner. Maybe he says, okay, you know what? We understand you want to go to a different conference, make more money, but, you know, we would love to keep some of those other programs here. Maybe I'm just petty, I guess, and I would not go for that. Yes. Now, there were the rumors out there that Memphis was discussing football only with the Pac and basketball only with the Big East, and that was asked to Ed Scott during his press conference, and he didn't necessarily turn it down, but he just kind of said, "Well, you know, we're looking at a lot of things."
That would be huge.
That'd be huge.
The Big East is still a power when it comes to basketball.
The Big East is loaded in basketball, and it would. So you'd certainly have a better conference schedule. I don't know. It would be tough.
But I'm with you. From the Tiger standpoint, if you were to take football, you would think that they would want basketball because not from a money-making standpoint, but from a just, I guess, product on the court, the basketball would probably be better than football.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to money and what the Pac-12 would offer to even get back in the conversation.
And still no TV deal.
Exactly.
I guess I guess you can't market it without that other team.
Right.
So they're still waiting.
And I think that's the thing is once they get 8 teams, it's going to be a lot easier for them to go out there and because here's the thing, whether it's ESPN or CW or Apple TV, whatever. I mean, from the very top to the very bottom of television networks or streaming services. Tell me where, and I love watching FCS football. I say I probably watch at least one FCS football game every weekend, mostly for gambling purposes, but tomato. You know, tell me what television network is carrying FCS games. They're not. You're having to find FCS games on ESPN Plus and on Flow Sports. Now you'll get like the random Friday night, you know, Harvard playing Yale
on ESPN News or something
or
like
ESPN 2, ESPN U, something like that. You get that every now and then. There'll be, and I think this is great. I actually love when they do this, but you know when they'll have like you know the HBCU showcase games where it's like you know I think this year it was Florida A&M and
I forget who it was.
It was
earlier this year. Yeah,
it was like North Carolina A&T or something like that. You know, it was some. I love that. You know, I think that's great, but you're not seeing you know Austin P every Saturday playing on FS1, you know? People aren't, you know, these television networks aren't, you know, going after FCS conferences. And the Pac-12 is going to get an 8th school. They're going to be fine. They're going to be an FBS conference. But I think my point is, I think once you get that 8th school, it's a lot easier to go to these TV networks, say, look, we're 100% an FBS conference. Here's the teams we have. We might add 1 or 2 more, but right now, here are the 8 we're rocking with. What can you offer us in terms of television deals?
And you were correct. That's Florida A&M and Norfolk State.
Norfolk State. That's exactly who it was. And that was a good game, too. That was week 0, I believe. So, you know, but they've got to offer more than what they offered. I mean, $2.5 million for your buyout to the American, not going to cut it. And so that would be the first step. And certainly Ed Scott did not say in his press conference, he did not say we're completely done with Pac-12. We're never going to speak to them again. He just said right now the offer we could not do that. He also said, and I think this is far more interesting in terms of how everything was reported and what he is saying is the fact that he made it sound like, I wasn't there, I just saw the tweets, I went back and watched a lot of the press conference, but he at least made it sound like they didn't have a lot of time to negotiate and go back and forth with Pac-12. Pac-12, and I think this is failure on the Pac-12's part, because I don't think they were very well prepared for how fast this was going to move and how fast they were going to be in conversations with these teams. I think they jumped way too fast and said, all right, here's an offer, give us an answer, you're either in or out. And I think that was probably when they thought, we've got plenty of options out here. We already took 4 schools from the Mountain West. We can go right back there and take more schools. We can go and get, a school from over here. We can go get a school from over there. We're offering 3 schools in the American. Certainly one of them, or excuse me, 4, because UTSA was in there as well. Certainly one of them will come over to us. And so I think they kind of got a little ahead of themselves and said, we have all the chips, on our end of the table. Here's your offer. Either take it or leave it.
Yeah, and they also had all of the dollars. So all of those exit fees or whatnot that the Pac-12 left behind are in possession of Oregon State and Washington State. But I think you were onto something, but they didn't want to come off of those dollars. I think if they were willing to shed some of their money to help offset some of the exit fees for other schools, maybe they would have had an opportunity to grab more. But even more so, you're back talking about the marketing and the TV side of it. This is exactly what they did to have the conference dismantle itself a year or 2 ago. So it's repeating itself again, and I'm not quite sure what their vision was initially. But if you're not going to divvy out some of that money that you got to try to build up what you have, you kind of get what you get.
Yeah, and I think, you saw it once those American schools turned it down. You got Utah State from the Mountain West, but the rest of the Mountain West pretty much said, hey, we're all going to band together and we're going to stick together. And now they need one more team. And it looks like they went and got UTEP yesterday. They were close to getting Texas State, but that really stalled out, and Texas State is going to stay where they're at. I don't, what does UTEP really bring to the Mountain West? I guess you get
geography,
a foothold in Texas,
Western Texas, But
kind of back to what we talk about a lot. How many people in Texas are really turning on their televisions on Saturdays and saying, "Man, I gotta watch some UTEP football."
Correct.
But maybe being in that conference, it's certainly better than the CUSA. Maybe that's able to grow them more. You're certainly getting more money there. You can have more money to spend with recruiting and all of that. Brett McMurphy just tweeted this out, and since we're talking about Pac-12, we'll mention this, and then we'll get to a break. This tweet just came out a couple minutes ago from Brett McMurphy from Action Network. Pac-12 still needs one more full member, but league won't be adding another school until media rights evaluation is completed, sources told the Action Network. This process could take anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months. Several schools continue to reach out with interest in joining Pac-12, but league is currently not negotiating with any schools about membership, sources said. So that's very interesting. So it sounds like the Pac-12 kind of knows, hey, we know we got to get another school, but let's wait. Let's figure out this, like you were saying, Darren, let's figure out where we're going to be at in terms of television, network, stuff like that, see where that money's going to be, because that was kind of the thing. You heard some people say, the Pac's saying they could be anywhere between 12 and 15. And then you had other people saying, well, that sounds great, but there's a lot of people inside that think they're getting more closer to 10 to 12, and that's a big difference, and so we'll see. And it sounds like the Pac-12 is saying, let's wait, because if we can get this evaluation, if we can get networks to say, oh yeah, with what y'all have right now, we'll certainly give you 15
then
mil.
They can approach the Ed Scotts of the world with something hard.
Then they can come back to me and say, look, we know we said 2.5 last time. We now have this in place. We know we're going to make this amount of money. We can now offer this much. And now, especially that they only need one school, maybe it's not. Because here's the thing. When you were going out and saying, hey, Memphis, hey, USF, hey, Tulane, hey, UTSA, if all 4 of those schools said, heck yeah, man, let's go, Pac-12. Now you're sitting there like, holy cow, we spend a lot of money on these exit fees. Now if you go out there and say, okay, look, we're going to zero in on Memphis and Tulane. We want those 2 schools. You can go out and say, hey, look, we know we offered you 2.5.
You can almost double it.
We're going to jump that up to however much they think they can offer. And maybe that sweetens the pot a little bit. Right now, I still think it's probably a long shot. But it is interesting, the reporting that's going on. I don't know if Hitman Hoops' reporting is accurate. I have no clue. I don't know if Brandon Marcello's reporting yesterday that Memphis is not, 100% not in conversation, is accurate. I have no idea. I'm just sitting here and looking at everything and kind of saying, this is what it seems like is the issue. This is what could happen down the road. But it's definitely, it's a weird situation.
It's very interesting.
It is.
And the crazy part about it is, for as desperate as we are as fans to be one of the haves instead of the have-nots.
Sure.
Do you know how mediocre that deal has to be for us to say no?
Yeah.
Like for us,
it was a terrible deal.
Yeah, for us to be invited to the ball
Sure.
and then say no. We've been scorned and burned so many times. We just wanted to get in. At one point, it was like, hey, let's even pay to get in. You know, we've even had that come across. But do you know how mediocre that deal, or bad, like you say, it had to be for us to say no?
Well, I think now the thing that the Pac-12 is looking at is saying, right now we're not offering anything good. Who can we go get? None of the Mountain West schools, all the Mountain West schools are seemingly staying together. It looks like our only option right now.
I've heard UConn as well. Have you heard that?
I've heard that, but I don't buy that.
Yeah,
I mean, heck, UConn is in a great spot right now with basketball, where they're playing in the Big East. We had a couple months ago where they were saying that UConn has been in kind of very, very early conversations with the Big 12 to join the Big 12 in all sports, with football kind of slowly coming in down the road. I would take that way before I took the Pac-12, and for a lot of different reasons, but mainly I think it's a lot more competitive than what the Pac-12 would be. And then you go geography. I mean, we're already talking about how much money it would take, and even Ed Scott talked about how much money it would take to go from Memphis to these Pac-12 schools. Think about Connecticut to these Pac-12 schools. I mean, you're talking completely across the country. So I think UConn's in a good spot. But now I'm seeing Sacramento State, an FCS powerhouse. I'll give them that. Great FCS school. They have been getting a lot of investments and people pledging money to try to make the jump not only to the FBS, but to the Pac-12. They want to get in the Pac-12. And so I think maybe the Pac-12 is sitting there going, oh man, is our best option right now Sacramento State? We need to figure everything out. We need to stop everything. We've been moving way too fast. Let's stop everything. Let's figure out where we're at right now. Let's get some numbers together, and then we can approach teams again and try to figure this out.
The turnaround is so fast, too. They won it in 25-26. Even with Texas and Oklahoma coming to the SEC, weren't they 3 years out when they got announced?
Yeah.
So I don't understand the swiftness of it.
Well, that's because there's so much pressure. They have by that year, they have to have those 8 schools to be FBS. And so that's why they're really, really trying to get this done as soon as possible. But we are late for a break. Let's go ahead and take that. And when we come back, we'll wrap up today's edition of Wolo and Friends.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hi, I'm Chandler Martin, linebacker for the University of Memphis football. You need cash? Refinance your auto loan with Southern Security and have no payment for 60 days. Southern Security will finance up to 115% of the current value of your vehicle for up to 72 months. To find out how to put more cash in your pocket, call our member service team at 901-452-7900 or apply on our website, southernsecurity.org. Southern Security is a proud supporter of University of Memphis Athletics. Southern Security, your home team credit union. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Jason's Deli. When you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking the bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets, vegan and gluten-free options available, convenience, and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby. The Jason's Deli locations at Ridgeway and the Marketplace Center, Upper Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and Goodman Road in Highland Branch. Jason's Deli is wholesome food and no surprises.
Every Everyone needs protection, whether you're on the field or on the road, so make sure you have the best. Bob Simpson State Farm Insurance can buckle you up with auto insurance, can back you up with life and health insurance, cover your business whether it's starting, growing, or maturing, and don't forget to insure your home, no matter if you're an owner or a renter. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call Bob Simpson today at 901-381-1233 or go online and get a free quote at bobsimpson.org. Stay protected with your good neighbor, Bob Simpson.
Jenkins Floors and More invites you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. If you are a first-time guest or have dined with us countless times, I want to thank you for making us part of your lives. Whether you're celebrating with the crowd or planning a cozy date night on the town, Napa Cafe can provide you an extraordinary evening. We have 5 dining rooms, including our private wine cellar, our Jan's room for 2 guests, and the Eleanor room for parties up to 60. Sit back, relax, and celebrate. Leave the cooking to us. Come see me at Napa Cafe, 5101 Sanderlin Avenue. We're open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. We also offer curbside pickup from our full menu. For details on our stay-in, dine-out menu or reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe in 2024. We can't wait to serve you.
Well, Darian, I didn't think we were going to talk about Memphis and the Pac-12 that long in the last segment. I thought it was a good discussion about kind of where everything is at right now. I just saw during the break Dick Weiss also reporting that Memphis and the Pac-12 are back in conversations. But now we're seeing Brett McMurphy saying that Pac-12 is basically going to stop conversations, if they're in any, and kind of wait until they get a media evaluation, which I think is exactly what they need to do.
Someone's acting like an adult in the room,
yes, finally. So I didn't think we were going to talk that long about it. Some other things I did want to get to before we got out today. The first one being the news we got yesterday, and we still haven't gotten an update about it, but Jaren Jackson Jr. Had some tightness yesterday in the first day of training camp. It has been described as a hamstring strain, which, if you look that up, hamstring strains like that, anywhere, if it's on the very mild side, a couple days, if it's, a little more severe, could be a couple weeks. Doesn't seem like anything big or anything to worry about, but, I think every Grizzly fan, when they started seeing those tweets, I saw, pretty much everybody that was at training camp yesterday was posting about that. And I think probably every Grizzly fan, when they saw that, it was kind of like, oh man, here we go again. Because now you've got Gigi with an injury. You've got Vince with an injury. Now Jaren is getting hurt during training camp. And
haven't seen Smart back. He's coming back off an injury.
Sure. So. I mean, heck, most of this team's coming back off of an injury. And so, I think it just hits a lot of people of, oh, man, I thought we were done with the injuries. Here we go again. And it's hard. It's not fun to live like that when you're worried about every injury. And I don't blame them. I mean, last year I don't think I'll ever forget when the Steven Adams news came out a couple days before the season was supposed to start. I was at church Sunday morning. I was actually not at the church I go to. I was at my buddy had gotten a job at a church, and I went. It was his first Sunday at that church, and I went to go support him at a new church. And I'm sitting there, and I try not to get to look at my phone while I'm at church. I'm trying to focus. But I glance down and I see notification, Twitter notification. I'm like, what is going on? I do not get this many notifications. So I'm like, we're good. Church gets done. I immediately look at my phone, and it's Steven Adams is out for the entire year. I'm going, what happened? He was just playing in preseason games. And now he's out for the year. And so I think it's that one day he was fine, next day he's out for the year. Like, what's that? And
I'm
then
with you.
You go later into the season, and throughout the season, you've got these injuries where it's, it starts off with the Grizzlies saying, they're going to be reevaluated in 1 to 2 weeks. And then that 1 to 2 weeks turns into the rest of the season. And so, I think it's okay to be a little worried about injuries, but hopefully with a strain, I don't think there's anything there. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be ready for opening day. And, a guy like Jaren, I really don't worry about him not being ready for the start of the season. I mean, it's kind of the same conversation we had in the NFL with guys like CeeDee Lamb. That was always the question. And people would say, CeeDee Lamb, you're not worried about his contract negotiation because the deal's going to get done. And even if he doesn't play a preseason game before the deal gets done, he's going to be ready to go game one.
And that's what you hope the guys coming in the training camp did.
Sure.
Yesterday, like I was like athletes say that play the game.
Mm-hmm.
You train to play basketball.
Yeah.
You don't play basketball
Sure.
to get in shape and train.
Sure.
So hopefully that wasn't the case where he was out of shape. But I want to give you some good news about the Grizzlies because you brought up Zach Edey yesterday when we were talking about him. I think I know what his secret is.
Oh, please, don't start this.
You see it? I know you've been. I think I know.
I don't want to hear it.
I think I know what the new trick in his bag is. I don't want him to do that,
He's sitting out in a corner, throwing up threes.
I think I know.
Good Lord.
I think I know.
You know how many wide open threes I can make?
I think I know. He was at the top of the key as well.
Wow, see,
I saw another one.
Corner.
I see the corner, but he initially started at the top of the key.
See.
I think I know what it is.
Give me a break. I mean, look, if he adds that to his bag, fantastic.
I don't want him to do that, though.
How many times have I heard that, though? Steven Adams was the same way. It was like, Steven Adams is going to shoot threes this year. Steven Adams is going to be a three-point shooter this year. He's expanding his game.
Sounds
he never
like
shot threes.
I don't want him. I don't want him to do it. I like I was saying, I want him to play, even though he's younger, from a physical standpoint.
Sure.
I want him to play big brother.
Yes, that's what I was always told.
Big and
he's going to be a back against the basket, in the paint, that sort of thing. I don't want him running out. And the only time I want him running out close to the three-point line is when he's doing a little pick and roll, So we'll see. I am excited, though, to see him in preseason
I'll take a corner free throw, Karl Malone corner free throw jumper.
Sure.
You don't want him floating
Mid-range,
that
fine,
far.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you think about the flow of the game and how the game works when they're transitioning up and down, if he's a little bit slower foot, the last person is going to come down is Edey. So he may have that top of the
just that trailing
by
three.
the trail.
Yeah.
Yes,
maybe.
absolutely.
I don't know. I am excited. Monday night will be the first preseason game for the Grizzlies, and we can see what he has in there. I accidentally put a rejoin in there, it looks like. But that's okay. Just in that, Darian, we'll go straight to a commercial. That's fine. I don't need any outro music. A little behind the curtain there.
Yeah, I didn't know. I was like, what's that?
No, that's
I thought
on
it was
me.
my fault.
I put it in wrong. But no, so we'll see what this Grizzlies team looks like in their first preseason game on Monday. We didn't get to talk about Devontae Adams. We'll talk about that tomorrow as he requested a trade from the Raiders yesterday. But that's all the time we have. We got to get out of here. But stick around because Johnny Radio, he's up next.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets.